Can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up?
Here's a 2-1. And that's driven deep to left center field. Gardner is going back. Looking up. See you later. See you later. Astros headed back to the World Series. Jose Altuve, a walk-off two-run homer. And the Astros beat the Yankees 6-4. Win the ALCS 4-2.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait. Are you kidding me? Do you believe it?
Now that is how you make an adjustment. What do I mean? Well, tune into this show because we are now live on BS3 Network, on YouTube.com, and on Facebook. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I am one of the hosts of the show, Cole Johnson. The other is convalescing as we speak. And before we continue onward, if you want to join the throng, like my man Sick Diggy, like my man K Peeps and Andrew and Ryan and Trisha and Latine A, all you have to do is go onto YouTube, youtube.com/C/Snowman in the Morning 50. That's Snowman in the Morning 50. And you can be in the number, in the throng, in the family. On tap today, we're going to review Game 2 of the Celtics and Heat. We're going to preview Game 2 of the Western Conference Semifinals between the Mavericks and the Warriors. We might take a trip back in the time. It depends on the time that we have. But what we will do is on the bottom of this hour, we're going to talk to Sam Shady of the Shady Sports Network, all things USFL and some NFL too. At the top of the second hour, we're going to talk to the BS3 Network owner, the owner, the reigner, and the manipulator of the network, Ben Sudderth III. And we're going to enter the Boomshakalaka on the bottom of the second hour with none other than Chris Bass. How you doing, fam? Yes, sir, Cool McCain. It is Football Friday, brother. Sick says peace to the chat. He hopes everybody's doing fine. And he passes his hellos to you, Mr. McCain. Six says, good morning to me. Ah, man, the weekend is looking lovely, my man. It's looking lovely. I hope yours is looking just as good as mine. It's probably not going to look as good, at least so far, as the Celtics because they did what they had to do. I said they had to steal one in South Beach, and they did just that. In fact, they didn't steal, they clobbered on their way to one. In fact, I'll touch on this point in a minute. 127-102 was the final score, and basically once the threes started raining down for the Celtics, the Heat had no answer. It was just that simple. Jason Tatum led the Celtics with 27 points, chipped in with 5 dimes and 5 boards. You had the returning Al Horford. I mentioned that he had to return, and that was a key. 10 points, 3 dimes, 3 boards, but along with that, 1 steal and a block. You had Robert Williams III. Yes, I know he did not score all that much, 5 points. And he really didn't grab that many boards with 4. No, the blocks, 3 of them. That is key for the Celtics. They want to intimidate any team that comes down to the lane because they have this guy who was turning into one of the best rim protectors in the league right now. Also returning to the lineup from Game 1 MIA action, Marcus Smart, 24 points, 12 assists, 9 boards. He basically was the player of the game, really. He showed out. Oh, and he showed why he's the current reigning defensive player of the year, too. He just got us blocking 3 steals, too. So he had an all-around game, and it was great to see him return. And the Celtics, as a whole, seem to have gotten galvanized by his return. Also, Jaylen Brown also chipped in with 24, 8 boards and 3 dimes, 4-7 from 3. So he was raining down threes. Just like Tatum, he was raining down threes, 2, 4, 6 from the 3-point stripe. And off the bench, you had Grant Williams with 19 and Peyton Pritchard with 10. The funny thing is, the Heat wanted to go after him But when you have Smart and Horford, that chances dwindled considerably. Now, for the Heat, who will limp into Boston 1-1 going into tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, but tomorrow, Jimmy Butler finished with 29. But this is the point that I said as to the reason why I believe the Celtics will beat the Heat in this series. Butler will get his. Who is going to take up the mantle to get theirs along with him? That has been my question. Vincent quiet through most of the playoffs. He finished with 14. You had Hero off the bench with 11, Oladipo with 14. It just wasn't enough, and you need to have somebody to step up to be willing to say, all right, I'll give you 15 to 20. At least that. I might even give more, but I will give that much to you because we know that you are going to be the offensive output for us. You're the main guy, and at times, this game being proof, you really are the only guy. So it is 1-1. The series now shifts to Boston. It goes to Beantown. Tip off there tomorrow will be at 8:30 p.m. So here's how it goes. This is exactly what the Celtics wanted. They wanted to take that one. They wanted to take one of those games and say, okay, well, here we go. We needed one. Now your butt's ours. That is how the Celtics were thinking. Because the Heat, they haven't proved on this playoff stretch that they are a great road team in the playoffs. They're a really good one, but not a great one. Especially if you have a defense in the Celtics that basically will challenge every other player to score other than Jimmy Butler because they know Butler's going to get his. And I've said this time and time again. If there is a team that has one guy who is the guy in terms of offense, the opposing defense is going to say, who is going to be the other guy to step up? And we're going to bank on the fact it's going to be none of you. That is how a defense that sees a team like the Heat, where the bulk of the offense comes from one player, that's exactly how they roll. Sick about his weekend says, well, let me put it this way. It's Friday. I'm sorry. Oh, Lord. It's Friday, and I just got paid, so I better break out the box braids and bring back 1987 like the late Johnny Kemp. Just got paid. It's Friday night. I'm sorry. He also says the Celtics put in a team effort and made the Heat's defense have to work. What did I say? What did I say? They couldn't stop Jimmy Buckets, but the rest of the team was contained. That's what you have to do with the Heat defense. You have to make them work for it. You can't make them sit for an errant pass. You have to take care of the ball. And if you take care of the ball, you make that defense of the Heat have to work harder. That's what you need to have happen for your team to beat the Heat. Because defensively, offensively, if you're going to be weak in how you handle the ball, you're going to be careless in how you handle the ball, like with Jason Tatum turning the ball over 6 times in a quarter in game 1. If you're going to do that, then you make the game easier for the Heat, and you certainly make the game even easier for Jimmy Buckets because Butler is waiting for the opportunity to sprint down the other end and lay it up or dunk it. He's salivating at the opportunity to do that. Salivating. Oh, and as for the turnovers, the Celtics only committed 9. So the return of Marcus Smart cleaned up a lot of the offense that the Celtics had. They weren't bogged down, and they didn't make the mistakes that they were making in game 1. And they were to 6 point. The ball was active. The ball kept moving. And when the ball keeps moving, you tire out the defense because that's what you need to have happen. You need to make that defense active. You need to make that defense reactive because the third quarter of game one, that defense was proactive, meaning they knew what they were looking for. They were looking for those errant passes, and they jumped passing lanes, and one easy bucket after another, which led to having them scoring 39 points in that quarter. Well, you limit those opportunities, and then it is harder for the Heat to play defense. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying it is considerably harder if you take care of the ball. That is the key to me. When we go to Boston, can the Celtics keep that Heat defense running just on a treadmill like a hamster? Can they keep doing that? Because they need to keep doing that. And if they can do that, we'll come back to Miami and it'll be 3-1 in the Celtics' favor. But if the Heat can get the Celtics to think instead of react, instead of go through the, when I say go through the motions in this case, I mean in the positive sense, that basically it's muscle memory. Just go through the muscle memory of how the offense is supposed to be laid out because of the practice that they did in seeing, okay, if you see this set by the defense, this is how you're going to roll offensively. Just go by muscle memory. If the Celtics do that, then it's going to be a long series for the Heat and a short series for us watching it. 8:30 p.m. That is the tip-off for tomorrow night. How about tonight? Well, I'm going to talk a little more about this game later in the top of the second hour, but I'll give a little glance. Tip-off is at 9. It is in San Francisco. The Warriors hosting the Mavericks. And this is simple. It's simple. Somebody other than Luka. It's going to be just that cut and dried and that simple. Somebody other than Luka. Because it can't be for the Mavericks. Luka, Doncic, and ... question mark. Luka, Doncic, and ... question mark. It can't be that. It has to be more than just him, because there's more than just one. It's more than just two. But heck, sometimes it's more than just 3 for the Warriors. And that's a lot to counter. But I will talk more about that game, the top of the second hour, with one Mr. Ben Sudderth III. A quick aside, not going too far, not going too long either. When I do return, though, I might take a trip back into time before we have Mr. Sam Shady return to us. But for now, this.
Have y'all even considered the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, that Jimmy Garoppolo that everyone wants to send everywhere else, may not be sent anywhere by the 49ers because, I don't know, they actually trust him?
Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning.
All right, so there was an event that took place not this date, but around this week, about 42 years ago. And many talk about this event in glowing terms, and many talk about this event in sort of disrespectful terms too. And what event am I talking about? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let's take a trip back at the time. And before we take that trip back at the time, I 100% agree with Sick. He says every leader needs a second in command. That is what the Heat is facing, and that's what the Mavericks are facing. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Mavericks. But definitely the Heat. Somebody needs to say, I'm going to step up with him. Now, for the team that I'm going to talk about will be the 1980 Lakers. Well, they had a lot of talent, but they didn't really have the unquestioned second in command, so to speak, because everyone knew with that team, the bread was buttered and the straw which stirred the drink of the Lakers was one Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And going into the finals, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he won his 6th MVP that year too, regular season MVP. So going into the finals, he was just simply tearing up the 76ers post, just was going to town on them. And then at the end of game 4, his fortunes changed and he got dinged up. Tried to give it a go in game 5. It just wasn't happening. And he was so injured, he didn't even go with the team when they went to Philly from LA to play game 6. But then there was this guy on May 15th of 1980 who said to the head coach at that time, Paul Westhead, "Never fear, Magic's here." Now, many like to talk about one who wears number 6 for the franchise, right? They like to talk about him so glowingly. However, and this is a big however, he never, and Cole means ever, did this in a finals game. Magic started at center. And in the game, he played both forward positions and both guard positions. So we're talking about a guy who was only 20 years of age at the time, ending his very first year in the NBA, and he shined. The Lakers found their guy in that moment, and that guy was Irvin Magic Johnson Jr. So in that game, game 6, he scored 42 points. He pulled down 15 boards. He dished out 7 dimes. And because of that performance, he won his first of 2 finals MVPs. The final score is 123-107. And the Spectrum was absolutely stunned for much of that game. They definitely were stunned at the end of it. But for much of that game, they were stunned. They were almost stunned to near silence. And we're talking about South Philly. When do you ever hear any crowd in South Philly almost silent? Virtually never. And in this case, it was that way because they were seeing a performance that we rarely ever see. We didn't really see it that much before. And dare say in the 42 years since, we haven't seen that performance since. We haven't seen a rookie come in, dominate a game, dominate a finals game like that, and win MVP. Now, we've seen rookies be on the stage and have shining moments. One example that comes to my mind right now, 1994, game 3, with about 15 seconds to go, the Rockets-Knicks. The Knicks were the home team. Hakeem has the ball in the post. He does a move, and you're thinking that he's about to go do a jump hook. In the periphery, he sees at the top of the perimeter, Sam Cassell wide open. So in his move, he purposely got the ball, faked to his right, and then pivoted to his left. And he was fake to his left, pivoted to his right, and he was in the motion of doing a hook, and he shoves the ball to Cassell, where the ball just hits nothing but the bottom of the net. Now, we've seen rookies do those moments, just that flash of moment. But we never saw a rookie take over a whole game in the finals. Not like that. Not like that before, not like that since. 6 says, and I'm sure Irvin Magic Johnson did so with his trademark smile. On the other hand, Dr. J must have been thinking, I've created a monster. And to that point, the year before, if I'm not mistaken, I think the story goes the year before, Magic visited Dr. J and he wanted advice as to if he should continue onward in Michigan State or go to the pros, because people in Michigan State were saying, well, you got nothing else to prove. You got a national championship. You're at the top of your game. What else could you do? And he was only 19 at the time. So, what else do you need to do? And what else you need to prove? You're already the best player in college basketball. What you're going to be? the best player in college basketball second year, you already know how to play the game. You already know how to play point. You already know what to do in these key situations. Heck, I mean, in terms of basketball, you're a full-grown man. That's what Michigan State was telling Magic. But I'm sure at home they were saying, well, education, Magic, education, Irvin, education, Irvin, education, Irvin. And I'm sure that was honed into him. So he took a trip and visited Dr. J, and he says, man, you ready? you ready to wreck shop in the NBA. You might as well. You might as well come down. 14 months later, Dr. J is looking at the future of the NBA, and his advice helped create it. I think it's one of the greatest stories because the way Magic looks up to Dr. J, it's endearing, it's wonderful. I love it. I love him for that. I love him for that. And Dr. J seems to have that same affection for Magic, that he just appreciates it. Sick also says, that begs the question, did Magic even go back to Michigan State and graduate? I can't remember. That's a good question. I'll come back to you on that one. I would think he did, but I can't remember. I can't put my finger on it if he did or not. But once I do find that out, I will. But I could definitely tell you this. You had a guy who had one eye on the Larry O'Brien Trophy and the other eye in Boston because he wanted to better one Larry Bird at every step of the way. And he had the jump. Very first year in the league, he won the big championship, the greatest championship that you could ever win in basketball, the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And when he was asked, what was the motivation for you to play the way you did? You know what he asked? He answered? He said, I was upset that I wasn't even considered Rookie of the Year because that honor went to Larry Bird. I was upset that I wasn't considered Rookie of the Year, and it wasn't even close. Bird won it by a landslide. I was upset with that. So you know what? I was like, okay, he can win Rookie of the Year, but he ain't getting this. That's the one thing I love about Magic. Not only ultimate point guard and ultimate basketball player, but the dude was the ultimate competitor. And whatever stoked his fire, that is what definitely did for him. And this was one of the greatest events that I've ever seen in basketball history. A rookie dominating a game to the point where you had to give him a Finals MVP trophy. BS3 Network says, good morning, Cole. I appreciate that. They also say good morning, chat. And I say hello right now to the folks at BS3 Network, Ben, Irene, Ben, Ivan. Appreciate all of you, brothers and sister. Oh, and let me end it this way. If you smell what Cole there we go. Is cooking. Well, nice try. That's our trip back in time. All right, a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have one Mr. Sam Shady at the Shady Sports Network on the other side.
Have y'all even considered the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, that Jimmy Garoppolo that everyone wants to send everywhere else, may not be sent anywhere by the 49ers because, I don't know, they actually trust him?
Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning.
Look, you got to have fun on this show. Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson is back, and I am one half of that team, Cole Johnson. Brian is convalescing at the moment. He will be with us momentarily. He may join us today. You never know. But I want to be like cool. I want that. I want y'all to have fun. Because we can't take everything serious, right? So as is always a custom at the bottom of our number one on Fridays, Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, our first of the three guests, power guests that we have. He is the man who runs the Shady Sports Network. And if you want to know all things football, go to that channel on YouTube. It is the one and only, should I say Eagles fan extraordinaire too? Yeah, I might as well say that. Yeah. Sam Shady. How you
How's it
doing?
going, Cole?
Everything is good, man. Everything is fine. How about yourself?
I definitely can't complain. The weather could be better, but it is what it is. I live in Colorado, so if I wait 5 minutes, it'll probably hit 90.
It's funny you say that. The time I visited Denver, that was the one thing I noticed. I remember one time I looked and I saw a hailstorm, and the sky was gray. And then literally 10 minutes later, hailstorm was gone, and I saw no cloud. I'm like, well, how in the world does this happen?
Exactly. It must be the mountains, man. That's all I can understand. Think about it,
Yeah.
because honestly, our weather is nuts. Believe
Yeah.
it or not, Colorado actually has the most days of sunshine out of any state in the union. So it's kind of surprising to see that it's all overcast and it's only 35 degrees and it's supposed to snow, actually. So we'll see what happens.
So I guess Prince was wrong. He said sometimes it snows in April. Well, looks like sometimes it snows in May.
Exactly.
All right. So if I'm not mistaken, the USFL is either at or nearing the halfway point. If you were to take an assessment of the whole league in general, what would you say how the league has been?
Oh, I think it's great. I know that we had our struggles with gameplay and some miscommunications in the first couple weeks, but as the season goes on, it seems like a lot of these issues and these miscommunications are being cleared up. I think it's all a product of the shorter training camps prior to the season. They only had about
Right.
3 weeks together after the draft, so I mean it's one of those things where USFL kind of bit themselves in the butt in year one, but year two should be better. Training camps are going to be a lot longer. Guys will be with the team ahead of time, so there should be a lot more time to build chemistry with your teammates and stuff like that. But as far as the season, the league as a whole, I think it's still being severely underrated. I'm seeing all over the place that everybody's talking about the XFL coming back in 2023 and about
Right.
how the XFL was better arranged than the USFL. And to a certain extent, that's true. But I think the USFL coming out first ended up getting them a couple players that would not have otherwise gone to the USFL, such as Jordan Ta'amu. Um,
Mm.
Kyle Sloter is probably another guy that would have looked to the XFL. So a lot of the prominent players that are in the USFL now are because of the fact that they rushed it a little bit. So I personally think that we're right about where Fox expected the league to be. Teams are starting to gain chemistry. They're starting to look really good. The gameplay is getting better and better by the week. Um, yeah, I'm encouraged by everything I've seen so far.
Oh, well, I mean, that's good. And I think I like what I'm seeing thus far. It's funny though, I've been hearing well from fandom that I think was already like 1 foot in the I'm turned off category. So basically was just looking at the stands and saying, well, how the heck the stands are empty and they expect this product to grow. I mean, and I guess I would like your opinion on this. So of course, because they wanted to mitigate both COVID and sort of like the growth, or I should say, measure the growth of the league. They decided to have all 8 teams play in Birmingham. The charge this guy said was, so you mean to tell me they have these other teams, but they're not growing in the communities in which they're supposed to be in? So how you expect for them to grow in their communities if they're not playing there? As in Houston not playing in Houston, Philadelphia not playing in Philadelphia, so forth and so on. To that criticism, what would you have to say?
Um, well, I would agree that they made a mistake putting the hub in Birmingham. I just don't think Birmingham was the perfect choice for a hub season. I've pointed to a couple different options, St. Louis being a huge one. Uh,
Yeah.
San Diego, I think, would have been a better supporting cast. Um, shoot, I would have taken it in Denver. I would have been at every game, but that's beside the point. Um, I think there's a lot of different cities that could have supported the USFL hub a lot better than what we're seeing Birmingham do. We saw in the XFL that the St. Louis Battlehawks averaged 27,000 people
Yeah.
in the stands. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you compare that to the USFL, and Birmingham's struggled to touch 17,000. So, I mean, that in itself, I think, is the whole issue with the hub. I don't think that they made the wrong decision going to a hub. I think it was to mitigate costs, like you said. It was
Hmm.
to essentially see what they had for a fan base in year one, and
Right.
kind of get everything going. And then in year two, I expect them to move to their markets. Um, if they don't move to their markets in year two, they're gonna face some serious backlash from the fans. But like you said, they're they're at this moment struggling to build a following in their own cities, and that's one of the big things that's causing attendance issues in the first place. I think some of these cities are reluctant to root for their team because they're not in their backyard, and I get that to a certain extent. But if you want to see those teams in your city, you have to support the league in year one so they can make it to year two. So, I mean, really, if we don't start showing up to games, if we don't start watching the games on TV, there's an off chance that Fox could say, you know what, we didn't have the viewership that we thought we would, we didn't have the attendance we thought we would. Let's go ahead and just call this a day, go back to the spring league where players pay us to play, and we can still put forth football on TV. So, I mean, I think it's one of those situations where the fans as a whole, if you like football, you should be supporting the USFL.
Agreed. Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. So with that being said, since you brought up that particular subject, the chances we will see a year number 2 for the USFL, like when we get to April of next year, how strong do you think we will actually have a year number 2 of this USFL 2.0 campaign?
Well, I think I'm standing about 75% that we'll have a year two. I think Fox, when they released the USFL and started to leak news about it, they said they had invested in it for at least 3 years. And honestly, I think that's what a league like this needs to truly prove if it can survive long term or if it can't. Because if you only give it a year, you're not really giving it the time to build the community, build the fan base like we talked about. And especially on top of that, I mean, you're in a hub, so you're not even giving those cities the chance to support their teams directly. So if you at least give it year two, move the teams to their cities, even if you incur a lot more cost, Fox can handle it for 1 year if that's what it takes. Um, I think you see a bump in attendance numbers. I think you see a bump in viewership. And ultimately, I think you see a bump in fan support, which is ultimately what Fox is after. But in order to do that, we need to be in the cities.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think for year number 2, they definitely do have to be in their markets. They have to be in their cities. I totally agree with that. Because I know that Fox has an eye toward expansion too, but it's going to be hard to expand, or at least it'd be hard to explain expansion if not. I'm not even talking about teams that are playing and they aren't in Birmingham, but like you said, if the Birmingham market is only receiving 17,000 to come to the stadium and they're putting them in 45,000, 50,000, 60,000 seated stadiums. So, I mean, yeah, it's hard to justify. Hard to justify.
Exactly.
Uh, your fellow Eagles fan, Cool McCain, says hashtag Fly Eagles Fly. Let's go, Sam.
That's what I'm talking about. Fly Eagles fly. Oh, by the way, since we're on the subject of the Eagles, how
All
about
right.
that move to sign James Bradbury?
Man, I saw that. I saw that. And one of the, I remember saying back in April, one of the things that the Eagles needed to do was they needed to shore up their secondary. And if they can get some pieces either in the draft or through free agency, they should do it. Well, here you go. You got one from a divisional rival. So
Exactly.
that's a great move. That was a great move.
I agree. I don't want to get into a whole bunch of details. I think it solidifies 3 positions in our secondary. Ultimately, I think it solidifies cornerback 2 because that's where he's going to line up.
Right.
It solidifies nickelback because Avonte Maddox is going to be able to solely focus on nickelback, which produced his best career season last year. And then on top of that, free safety, because Avonte Maddox is a versatile guy. So if he's not on the field as a cornerback, I expect him to be the first off the bench as the 3rd free safety. And in that, we're going to be able to add a lot more talent to the defense with only acquiring 1 player. One of the things that we struggled with last year was a lack of athleticism in the secondary, specifically at the safety position, which will not be an issue in 2022.
Well, I guess you'll have to allay I won't say fears, but concerns of one Cool McCain, who he feels the Eagles still needs a safety.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see them sign somebody prominent to step in and start. But I'm confident in Marcus Epps and Avonte Maddox splitting snaps at the free safety spot. As long as we don't see Anthony Harris back there, 20 yards off the line of scrimmage, trying to, play the post, I'll be okay with it, I think.
All right. Well, all right. Well, since we are on this Eagles bent, and I see Eagles fan here too. So draft is now almost a month past. You're dealing with having a cornerback that fills a big time need on the team. I know the season kicks off in less than 4 months. If you were to handicap this team in terms of, all right, I see this particular team the way it is constructed now, going to the blank. How far do you think the 2022 Eagles can go?
Every fiber of my being right now wants to tell you Super Bowl. Like, I literally want to make that projection right now and stick by it all season long. The only problem is that we just don't know how the NFC is going to shake out. I really think that Howie Roseman struck it out of the park this season. I mean, he really killed the offseason, getting A.J. Brown, getting James Bradbury, bringing in Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. Position after position, he went down our list of needs and literally hit every single one except for safety. So we do have a couple issues. Like I said, we could use a more prominent safety, but ultimately, I think we're going to see a deep run in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised to see us up against, maybe the defending champs in the NFC Championship game. Although I honestly don't know if we have enough to get past them yet. It remains to be seen how Hurts does, how he builds chemistry with Brown in season 1.
Right.
And ultimately how Smith and Brown work together in the offense. Although I'm fairly positive about this season. In fact, probably the most positive I've been about an Eagles season in a long time prior to the season.
Wow. Well, you hear that, Cool. Cool says that we have versatility, we as in Eagles. And he also says, please, no Anthony Davis crying emoji. He says Kaiser White. And in terms of the expectations of the team going to Super Bowl, but trying to not say it and mitigating it a little, he says, me too.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to speak it out loud because then we might jinx the team. And on top of that, Philadelphia's always thrived on that underdog mentality. So
right.
I don't necessarily want them thinking that on paper they're the best team in the league, because we saw what happened when the dream team was in Philadelphia. And yeah, it was ugly. So I'd much rather see them keep quiet, go about their business, and just start stacking wins. And then we could start talking mid-season, maybe week 10, when we've got 6 to 8 wins, somewhere in that range, and we could start talking about playoffs. But until then, I'm just going to leave it at I'm thoroughly encouraged by what we have done.
Just as long as I don't see those dog masks again. I got why they put it on. Oh my gosh. All right. So back to the USFL. Who, in terms of player and who in terms of team, has been your biggest surprise, and who in terms of player and who in terms of team has been your biggest disappointment?
Oh man, this is a great question. My biggest surprise, New Jersey Generals quarterback I believe it's D. Ernest Johnson. I hope I got his first name right. He was a Last Chance U star. I never really watched the show much, but I had heard the name around, and I honestly thought that he was going to be one of those guys that was just going to be a depth piece and see occasional plays here and there. But as the season's worn on, he's proven that he's a legit quarterback, and that I honestly think as the season goes on, he's going to end up being the starter. He took over last week. We didn't see Luis Perez at all, not even one single passing attempt. And that was the first time all season long that that's been the case. So in the last 2 weeks, he's primarily been the first guy off the bench. I ultimately think that Mike Riley is going to give him the start going forward. And we're going to see him develop into a potential bottom tier NFL player in the USFL.
Wow.
As far as my biggest disappointment, as much as I hate to say it, my Philadelphia Stars. I talked about it all off season prior to the USFL kicking off. Bart Andrews went out of his way to draft players that he had prior relationships with in a hopes to draft an advantage in year one. He was hoping that, everybody knowing his scheme, or the vast majority of his team knowing the scheme, coming in and having some prior knowledge with each other was going to build chemistry right away. And it looked like at first it was going great. But ultimately, after Scott got injured in week 3, even before that, really, it started to kind of fall off the rails. So ultimately, my biggest disappointment is the Philadelphia Stars. In terms of players, I don't want to say he was a disappointment, but I'm disappointed that the Stars let him go and moved on from him. And that's kicker / punter Matt Mangle. It was incredibly odd to see. He's primarily a punter and kickoff specialist, and he thrives in flipping field position. But he had been struggling on field goal kicks and extra points at times. The coaching staff came to him prior to last week and basically told him, hey, or not last week, the week before that, and basically told him, hey, man, you either need to improve on kicks or we're going to cut you. And basically, he did improve. He went out and won Special Teams Player of the Week. He went 4 for 5 on field goals. I believe 3 for 3 on extra points. Had a 41-yard punt, and then also flipped the field position on kickoffs. So a real weapon. And then they cut him. So it was really surprising to see. I actually have kind of a personal relationship with Matt, so I'm a big fan of his. But at the same time, it's just a head scratcher of a move. Like I said, he's coming off the best week of the season. He won Special Teams Player of the Week for a reason. So it was a huge shock to see him released. Hopefully he lands with another team somewhere in the USFL before the end of the season, which is ultimately what I expect to see happen. We have kicking woes across the league, so it's only a matter of time.
Put a pin on that, because I have a final question to ask you along those lines about the 2012 Eagles. Cool McCain says, no Dream Team comparisons, with 2 tears pouring completely down his face like waterfalls emoji. Good morning to you, Ryan. He says good morning to you, Sam, and everyone in the chat as well. And the quarterback that you were talking about for the Generals, he says it was DeAndre Johnson.
Thank you,
and
DeAndre Johnson. I appreciate that.
DeAndre Johnson. And Cool has actually said that he has been impressive, and he said the same as you just said. Cool says this sounds like a Howie movie, and the same result.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I could see that. I mean, I really hope it's not the case. Like I said, I don't want to say for sure, but I ultimately think we have all the building blocks of a great roster. It's just a matter of chemistry, which is highly underrated in the football world.
Yeah. What up, Shane? He says the super producer's in the house. What up, CJ? What up, Shane? Hope everything is good with you. And Cool says stars cannot finish games. But my final question to you, because I wanted to ask this when it actually happened, but we had to talk about other things. You say, I thought you would be excited about your stars, because I'm going to go back about a few weeks. Considering that they won one of their games in one of the most unbelievable of fashions. So the Stars were up 26-25. They were, let me see, I think they were inside the Panthers were driving. They were inside the Stars 5. They line up for a 21-yard field goal, and one Mr. Michael Carter-Sosa missed it to end the game. Now, I thought you would be excited about that. So,
yeah, don't get me wrong. I was thoroughly excited about that, but that was actually the game that put the end to Matt Mangle's Stars career. So it's bittersweet for me. Like I said, I have a personal relationship with the guy. But with that being said, I was thoroughly encouraged by the win because ultimately you saw Case Cookis come in and play well. And that was the most encouraging thing about that victory is Case Cookis has showed that he belongs in the NFL. I mean, he was bounced around for a reason. You know, teams kept giving him shots in the NFL prior to the USFL. And I think the whole reason he's in the USFL is because he realized he needed to get game film out there. He needed to show what he could do on the field rather than in practice. And he's showing that he's pretty solid. But ultimately, Brian Scott was one of the best quarterbacks in the league prior to getting injured. And when he got hurt, it seemed like it sucked a lot of air out of the Stars. I mean, just his announcement alone, discussing how he was going to be returning back home, he wouldn't be traveling with the team, stuff like that. It just seemed like a lot of momentum was sucked out of us with that. But like Cool said, we've really struggled to finish games. Our defense has just simply not stood up to the challenge week in and week out. And I think that in itself is a big reason why we see the Stars with the record that we do currently.
Yeah. Well, man, I could continue to talk any type of football with you, but I know you have to run. How can the people find you, sir?
As you said, we are on YouTube at Shady Sports Network. We're also on Twitch, although Twitch is kind of more of I use that for like a behind the scenes type thing. So if you want to see everything live, unedited, that's where you go check it out. On top of that, we just got on Spotify as of this past week. We are now on Apple Podcasts. So I've got a couple different guys that are on that podcast almost daily. They're producing content almost so fast it's not even funny at this point. But we've got a bunch of NFL stuff out there. Curtis Hagan, one of my guys from the channel, great analyst. He broke down the quarterback positions. He broke down the running back positions. He's about midway through the running backs right now. He ranked the potential division champions. So definitely go check out all that. Again, that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Sorry about that. Yeah, basically anywhere. And as always, definitely always catch me here on Fridays with Snowman in the Morning, because this is one of my favorite things I get to do every week. I'm not even, I'm not saying that just to prop your ego up or anything like that. I just thoroughly enjoy talking to you guys every Friday. Good way to kick off my Friday on a good note.
Well, always know the feeling is 100% mutual, because it's a wonderful time talking with you too, man. We appreciate you. Sam Shady of the Shady Sports Network, he joins us every single Friday at 8:35 p.m. AM, I'm sorry. And he takes us through all things USFL and even some NFL too, because we're going to have him during the NFL season as well. Thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Cole. Like I said, always happy to join. You have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll catch you next week, man.
All right. Same. And you're now inside hour number 2 of Snowman in the Morning.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up?
Grant with that jump shot's off. Long rebound run down by Hodges, and here's the King. That's a 3.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait. Are you kidding me? Do you believe it?
That last highlight was for you, Brian. Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, hour number 2. I am the end of that, Cole Johnson. Brian Snow is recovering from cancer surgery, and he is touch and go, but everything is fine. He senses love. He senses well wishes to everybody, and hopefully everything is going to be the way it's supposed to be very soon. And speaking of the way it's supposed to be, I'm going to be joined now by the man who is the owner, the manipulator, the operator, the stone cold assassin of the BS3 Network, BS3 Sports, and all other kinds of content. It is my personal friend, Ben Sudderth III. How are you, sir?
Doing great, man. I love that Stone Cold reference. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, man. No problem. All right, so we have to talk about something. Your Mavericks.
Yes.
Okay. It's sort of a good news, bad news thing. I did not expect them to go to Phoenix and do what they did. I'm actually proud of them for that. But I also didn't expect them to travel to San Francisco and forget how to play.
Yeah, that was a whooping. There's really no other way to put that. I think a couple of different things coming off the high from that Suns win, which going into Phoenix, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Monty Williams, all of those factors, and they came in and they got that win.
Mm-hmm.
I think they came in probably a little high this game, and they weren't in rhythm. The threes weren't falling at all. If you look at that game 7, they were 40%, over 40% from the three. And the other day it was 23%. So this is definitely a team where they got to be in rhythm. Only had 3 players over in double-digit points. Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, was under 10. He had 7 or 5 or something like that. So, I mean, it a lot of it depends on, we talk about this all the time, the others, because Luka obviously can't do everything.
Right.
And there's so many weapons on the Warrior side that it's gonna have to be matched and not only matched, but it's gonna have to be doubled. So you're gonna have players pitch in. So I think there's a couple factors, but to the fact that they are here to me is a surprise. But now I think this just means how well coached they are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about the coaching in a moment. Sam of the Shady Sports Network says, I just want y'all to know that you're in the comments right now. You guys are the real MVPs. We would not be doing it if it weren't for you great viewers that are here every Friday with us. Well, look at that. I don't even have to say anything. Sam said it for me because I 100% agree with him. Wise, how you doing, man? It's great to see you, brother. He says good morning to the chat as well. And then the super producer, Shane, says, by God, it's Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Shady says he loves this crowd. And Wise says, good morning to you, Shady. All right. So, if you were Jason Kidd and you saw the game that the Mavericks played Wednesday, what adjustments do you think you would have made in leading to tonight's game 2?
I mean, I think most importantly, I would have, probably double team. You got to double team Steph. You got to double team Clay. But also, if the threes aren't hitting, you gotta come up with a different, with some type of adjustments. And I don't know, really, honestly, if there was anything that they could have done to negate what happened on Wednesday. But I think going into tonight, I think you're going to have to come up with some type of defensive plan so that you're able to limit as much as you can I do think I don't think Boban got in at the end, so maybe you put him in a little bit more. You're gonna need that big man presence because they were able to put Mooney in there. They were also that was I think that was some trouble for them. So it's gonna be tough, but I think Jason Kidd can try to write up a plan and see what he's able to do.
Before I continue, sorry about that. Wyatt says good morning to you, Cool. He also says good morning to you as well, Ben.
Morning, Wise.
Wise, Cool says good morning to you, Wise and Ben. And super producer Shane says J Kidd needs to get them to attack the inside more and get Green in trouble early. Yeah, protect the outside, but gotta attack the paint more. To that point, and I'm so glad you said that, Shane. The one thing that I saw that the Mavericks did well in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals, and in the 2 rounds, and in those 2 rounds at home, that they seem not to do when they're playing on the road most of the time, is they seem to lack having an offensive aggression. Why is it that we are seeing different teams, but they wear the same jersey when they play in Dallas versus when they play on the road?
Yeah, that's a head scratcher. I'm still trying to figure that out. I think definitely that home crowd definitely makes a difference. That home cooking, like we all say, I think that makes a difference. I think too that this is just not a good road team. Just period. Now they're gonna have to adjust that because they'll probably. I think this is could potentially go 7 games, and they're gonna have to do the same thing again. Win another game in San Francisco. So yeah, it's. I don't know if it's jitters. I don't know if it's. But they just don't shoot well, and I don't get that at all. But they're gonna have to figure that out because it's real questionable as to why they can't shoot in away games. They can shoot better in home games, and I think also with Luka, possibly with the shoulder thing, he's rubbing his shoulder. He said it's fine. I know he's been wearing those kind of Nike bands on there, so. Yeah, they got to figure out a way to get in rhythm. I think that's a huge thing, and they were able to get off to a big start in Phoenix in that Game 7. So I think it also comes to the how they start off the game is how the game is going to continue to go.
What I also noticed is the propensity for the Warriors to turn Luka into a defender, and of course he is notoriously known for. Let me be kind. Taking plays off on the defensive end.
True.
Knowing this, because I'm believing this is going to continue, what do you think Luka can do to become less of a liability on the defensive end and and to still have enough energy to attack on the offensive end? Because he's one of the greatest offensive players in the league.
Yeah, I think what he'll need to do, and this is what Jason Kidd is told him, is that we need you to play D for what I think he said 5 seconds. We need you to get in front of that person. We need you to at least alter their shot because yes, he is a liability on defense. Mm-hmm. We know that that's not his strong suit. We know that's not what his passion is. Right. So I think you got to stay in front of the guy, try to alter the shot. If you need help, you try to get help from a defender, but he's gonna have to take his game honestly to the next level. That's the real honest truth. Is that most players that are just offense only, they can only go so far. That's why you see a Jimmy Butler that plays both ends, and how successful he's been during his time in the NBA. So I think Luka's gonna have to step up. That's a big flaw because if they continue to go after him, it's almost a guaranteed bucket. So and I think like I was saying, Jason Kidd was just saying, hey, stay in front of your defender, at least make them have to change what they're doing, and he's gonna have to do that on his own. That's just the truth.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. I think, and I think that's all he would really need to do, and I'm sure that would change his perception in the league of, well, okay, of course he dominates on offense, but he takes plays off on the defensive end. But yeah, if he could do that, I think it would actually help a lot in this series if he were to do that.
Yeah, because you got a lot of offensive firepower, so you're gonna have to. There's not a choice, or it's the Splash Brothers are gonna be splashing everywhere.
Right, and no team can withstand that. No. I'm loving the networking in the chat. Shady Sports Network says, "What's up? We need to connect on social media and talk with Cool about a collab." That's to Wise, and Wise says, "I'm down for whatever. Just let me know." And he also says, "What's up, Sick?" To you, Wise is saying that. Sick says, "Luka Doncic facing the Warriors alone is like the Lone Ranger versus the Magnificent Seven."
Yeah,
nice reference.
Pretty much.
Nice reference. I love that. He also says, "What's good? Stuck in my mind podcast." And good morning, everybody. And Cool says he's down with the collab. Y says, "Warriors have so many bodies to throw at Luka." That is where I see the downfall of, like, if I were to say the Mavericks have a chance, that statement right there is the reason why I would say I give them no chance to win the series, not no chance to win a game. I give them no chance to win the series because the Warriors can throw offensively. They can throw Curry at them. They can throw Thompson at them. They can throw Poole at them. Heck, they could even throw Wiggins at them.
Yeah.
And if he decides he wants to be an offensive player, they can throw Draymond at him. So it's so many players that they could just simply throw at Luka on the defensive end, to where Luka's like, forget it.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. And with this Warriors team, pick your poison. If Jordan Poole has a night, what are you going to do then? If Draymond has a night, the whole starting five, basically, if they play the small ball lineup, they can all hit threes.
Right.
And I think too, this Warriors team, are they able to keep up this 3-point shooting, because that's a major part of how successful they've been. And I think in this series it's going to be extremely hard to do. And I didn't pick them getting past the Suns. I was wrong, so I'm gonna not pick them getting past the Warriors, and hopefully I'll be wrong at that too. But I think it's just it's too much of a uneven matchup.
Yeah. I would love to say I would love to be wrong in mine, because I said it was Warriors in 6. I would love to be wrong in that too. I'm just struggling, mightily struggling to see how the Mavericks can. I won't stop. It's not even the right word. Even slow down or contain the high octane Warriors offense. It's hard for me to see it.
Yeah. It's hard. That's not a lot of teams have been able to do it. Period. Right. And the Warriors aren't any different than all the other teams in the league.
Yeah. Super producer Shane says Luka needs to stay up in the key and then swap off, plain and simple. I would love to see him do that more often too, man. Seriously. But for some reason, his mind is like, okay, let me see who I can just simply clown off the dribble the next time we have the ball. You can actually see the energy like that on the court. And it's like, Luka.
His game is almost like a mixtape. That's like he's so you can see how he was smiling in the game 7.
Oh God, he was loving it.
He was loving it, but that's his game is so much of a like highlight reel that sometimes he doesn't play sound basketball.
Yeah, that's where I think I am with him. Both ends of the floor. For tonight, for instance, I would love for him to actually own, and he actually said that, and I give him mad credit. Post game in game 1, he said that the second half, the Warriors they were just biting them up and they were being physical with them. And he just said it just wasn't my night, and I didn't play up to expectation for my team. But as the leader, I got to step up and play better. I liked hearing him say that. What I didn't like was the body language, because he sort of felt as though I was reading it. And I was like, doggone, you look like you're defeated, and not that you lost, but it looked like you were defeated. Like it's like, I don't have an answer for this. I don't have an answer for this, and it was telling. And so for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if you see it differently, tell me. To me, tonight, I think he has to have the same mentality that he had, and like you said, he has the and one type of feel to his game. I think he needs to have that same type of joyous buoyancy about him in tonight's game, like he did Sunday in Phoenix, and just say, okay, we can win a game here. This team is not invincible. We can beat them. And if he has that mentality, I think the others will simply eat off of that energy, bounce that in, and it'll bounce off of them, and they'll play the exact way you have to play to beat the Warriors. What say you?
I agree 100%. It all starts with his demeanor and his disposition and how he's doing emotionally. So yeah, I think that's you're 100% correct, because he is the leader of this team. So the way he goes, the way the rest of the team is going to follow. So yeah, I think he definitely has to come in with the mindset of, we need to get off to an early start, and I need to dominate, because he is a beast in the paint.
Yes,
there's not a lot of point guards at all that can guard him in the paint. You see how he was pushing around Mikal Bridges. You can see how he's pushing around pretty much everybody from the Suns. So I mean, you gotta do what works, and I think that's how you start it off. Then you start hitting it with the threes. Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be one of those guys that is going to be trying to get open and getting his shot and getting his rhythm going. But this is such an interesting playoffs, that you have a lot of teams that are winning at home, but they're not winning away. And this series is really the prime example of it. But they got to get, I think, confidence-wise, I think, and the importance for this series, that they got to get this one tonight. I think that this one means a lot as a bounce back. I think it also means a lot as you don't know how this series is going to go,
right.
And you got to take every win you can, especially against the Warriors.
I thought they needed to have to come with the Game 7 energy Wednesday, but I think you said it. I think they were celebrating.
Yeah.
And
they were high.
I think the celebration it went all the way until, say, the second quarter of that game. And then they realized, oh, we're playing a different opponent. We didn't win a championship. Oh, we just advanced to the next round, and this team is far different than the Suns. Oh boy. And they tried to fight, and in the third quarter, the Warriors just like, okay, all right, we've had our fun. It's time to go.
Right. Exactly.
But I really believe they need to have that type of energy, that type of Game 7 energy on the road, where it's like, okay, we need to take one, and if we take one, I think we, even though the Warriors are a great road team themselves, I think we can hold our own at home, and if they feel that way. And if they actually get that W, I think it would go a long way toward their confidence in general.
I agree 100%. And you got to be ready. Obviously, this is the playoffs. We all know. And this is a different beast. Now this is a completely different team.
Yep.
So you got to be game in, game out. This is a Game 7. That's a mentality that you got to have. You can't take any nights off, or we'll come back tomorrow. You can't have that mentality.
And most certainly not against this team, because
right.
For the Warriors, they had played in this playoffs. They had played every game like it was a Game 7. So you have to step up your level in order to hang with them. Forget beat them. You got to step up your level in order to hang with them.
Right. Exactly.
Now, shifting to football, and of course, you in the Metroplex, since you were able to talk about the Mavericks, I know you're able to talk about the Cowboys. We had the schedule released last week, and I'm sure you looked at the schedule up and down. Where do you see the Cowboys going?
Definitely, I think right out the gate, I like that matchup against the Bucks again. That was last year, and I think that they definitely need to redeem themselves.
And this time, this was at home, so
right, exactly. So I think I like the schedule. I think a lot of it, 100% depends on the health of this team.
Agreed.
And not having Amari Cooper, I think there's going to be a little bit of filling out early on. I did hear that the young wide receiver that they drafted from South Alabama, I did hear that he is at Dak's. Dak has a field in the back of his house or something like that, and he's practicing at Dak's field. So I think that they're going to need to really gel and get some cohesiveness with this wide receiving core, because it's going to look a little bit different than it was last year. So I think that's going to be a major thing. But I do like the matchup also against the Bengals. I think that's going to be a really a good test. Obviously, they went to the Super Bowl, so they're becoming that top tier team. So how do the Cowboys match up against the former Super Bowl team in the Bengals? So I think that's another good matchup. Definitely the Packers and Cowboys, always a good matchup. We literally can't seem to not allow Aaron Rodgers time at the end of a game, which I don't know when we're ever going to figure that out. Don't give Aaron Rodgers time. Okay, that's newsflash. I like the matchup against the Titans as well. I think that's another good one. And obviously, you got the NFC. The NFC matchup. Those are always good because it's a division team, and those are always great matchups, to have. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to all of these, really.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that they have an early test against one Super Bowl team in the Bengals. They have a huge test against the ones who actually won the game in LA. So when the Cowboys go up against the Rams, and that's going to be October 9th, I believe. Do you think your squad will be battle tested enough to go up against a team as talented and as talent laden as the Rams are?
I think they'll be ready. Yeah, I think they'll be ready, and I think a major part of their game, obviously, is the offensive weapons that they have, and I think Dan Quinn will definitely have them ready. Do I think they'll win? Maybe not, because it is the Rams, but I definitely think they'll be ready. I think it'll be a competitive game, but really, at the end of the day, they have to play the entire game, and they cannot play for ties. They cannot play for let's just kick field goals. The red zone scoring is going to be another thing we're going to talk about this year, because last year was the same thing, getting in the red zone and not scoring. If you look at successful teams, most of the time they score in the red zone. You capitalize on the opportunities that you get. So I think so going back to the Rams, I think they'll be ready for sure.
I agree. And I think if the Cowboys stay the course, I think they will be too. And for me, I just would love to see this team run a little more. I think they go too far away from it. And then I say this knowing who is coaching the team, and I'm like, okay, all right, Cole, track record. Have you seen any team coached by McCarthy actually have a decided attempt to actually run the ball And the answer is maybe 1 or 2 games out of every year he's been coaching in the NFL. So I'll be completely disappointed some more.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what you're saying, the biggest thing is that has been the Cowboys' MO for probably the past, I don't know, probably 5 to 7 years. Because you look at Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is a disciple of Linehan. Both of those guys are very similar, and they abandon the run so quickly. It's not even funny when you have a guy that you just paid, a couple of years ago that you paid this guy. I would run the hell out of him. Like, what's the point of signing a guy when you don't use him? And granted, he was partly injured last year. That's a whole nother story, because if you're injured, you're affecting the team negatively. Just sit out, or don't say the guy doesn't play. But that's a whole nother thing with money and how the NFL goes.
And then there's Scott Pollard, but what do I know, right?
Yeah. And he's got speed, he's got quickness, he's got catch out of the backfield. Every single post game, Cowboys fans are calling in like, why didn't Tony Pollard get the ball more? But that's not even the biggest thing. Why are they abandoning the run?
Why are they abandoning the run altogether? Right.
Yeah.
I agreed, man. And I'll get to that in a second. Andrew, what's up, brother? Appreciate you coming back as always. Cool. He says McCarthy was a weird hire to me. I'll put it this way, Cool. It wasn't a weird hire to me, because I thought, and if you're not thinking this way, Ben, I'd be surprised. The moment I heard from Gerald Jones's mouth that he was selecting McCarthy as the head coach, I said, "Oh, this is perfect. He got his puppet."
Exactly. He got his teddy bear coach. He loves those teddy bear coaches. That's why he had Wade Phillips. That's why he has him. That's why he had Garrett for so long. But I think the other thing is they were so enamored by his barn film that if you remember McCarthy, they promoted the heck out of it too. On every single channel, it was like McCarthy's watching film in a barn with these other coaches. I think they were so amazed that he was watching film in a barn that they were like, "Oh, we need to get this guy." Like, no, that's not. It's because you watch a film in a barn doesn't make you a better coach.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that till you mentioned it. Yes, I did see that. I'm like, Lord. Okay, well, I would have said, okay, well, if that's the case, why don't you hire John Gruden? Dude doesn't do it in a barn, but he does it in a room.
He does it in the booth, and they don't like change, and that was the absolute safest possible pick you could have made. Is McCarthy.
Yeah. So I was not shocked. Oh, and Cool loves your teddy bear coaches reference.
He loves those guys. I mean, he loves the guy that he can give a hug and he feels all warm. And when Jerry's feeling cold, the coach can go up to the booth and help Jerry feel warm. I mean, it's like,
oh my
God. I just don't get it. I get it, but like, come on, man. You've been doing this for how long? You know, these retread guys most of the time don't work. You know that already. Yeah,
Cool agrees with you. He says so true. And he also says Titans is his second favorite team in the next 3 years. It's funny you mentioned that the Titans actually come here because I'm in Nashville. The Cowboys actually come here before the new year. So we'll get a chance to see a good late season test there. Man, I could talk to you about so many different things, man. But tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, sir. So at BS3 Network, all avenues of social media. You can email me at contact@BS3 Network. We're always looking for new shows, looking for new content. Ben Sudderth III on Facebook. So definitely send me a friend request. Love to link up, love to collabo. And always great, man. Always great coming on. This is a highlight on my Friday driving into work. Hopefully it's not too. I'm driving on these Dallas roads, so hopefully it's not too bumpy on the audio. But love coming on.
Yeah, surprisingly, you're actually navigating those roads smoothly, so I appreciate you.
Well, that's not what my car thinks.
The owner of BS3 Network and BS3 Sports and so many other content-worthy things that everybody should check out, Ben Sudderth III. Man, as always, it's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Always appreciate you, Cole.
All right. We'll do a quick reset, and we're going to enter the boom shakalaka afterwards.
If I were Joel Embiid, knowing the fact that James Harden is your teammate and you're going to have to trust him after the month of April, I'd run like hell. This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, the show with the hottest of hot takes and the coldest of cold hard facts. Facts, that is.
Winding it down on this Friday, Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. The other half is healing and recuperating, and he says hello, and he sends his best wishes to all of you. Well, I'm looking at the time. It's 9:35 Eastern on a Friday, so that means it is the man who is in charge of Chris Base interviews, the man that is 1/4 of the street. Sorry. The man who is in charge of the baseline, the man who is, I guess you say, the man of the people. I think that's a good way of putting it. It is the incomparable, the mighty Chris Base. How you doing, sir?
Thank you, Don Cornelius.
He got it exactly.
Yes, thank you.
I was hoping
Soul
he was
Train, because you used to put his finger in the air like he actually did something.
Yes,
like it was a monumental announcement.
Right. I'm like,
it's like, please put your hands together for Big Foot. Then Bigfoot come on and start dancing and something like that. So right.
Oh man,
good to see you, Cole. How you doing, sir?
It is good to see you too, man. I'm doing good. I'm actually doing even better now that I'm seeing you.
Well, look, let me get some shout outs out the way. I got some shout outs because I want to get out the way before we move further. First of all, Rayman continue to heal.
Please.
And you're going to be just fine. You'll be a brand new Rayman, which that is scary right by itself.
Ain't it?
So that's going to be all right there. Also, a shout out to my man Cole. And I caught you on Baseline. I did my show last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for chiming in during the comment section, you and Wise. That was a nice surprise.
Oh. Well, maybe we have to report. We have to support good content. And look, you see this here every Friday. You see this man is full of great content, and when he's in his home, the content is even more fire, and it's fire here. But yes, I had to show love to you, man, because you've shown so much love to us. I just had to show love to you, brother.
I appreciate that, and I love you guys more. You have no idea. You guys make the 1/4 of my Native American heart soar when you do things like that. So thank you so much. Also, shout out to Ben, who we just had on. I caught Ben and his other guest host on, not guest host, but host on the Forecast, Four cast.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they were breaking down the recent Batman movie. And I have to say, they don't play. You got to come correct. Because they were slicing and dicing. Because remember like the scene from Harlem Nights when Della Reese went into a brawl? Now I got to cut you. And so they cut you verbally.
Right.
And you got to come correct. I would love to be a part of that. So I don't know if Ben's still listening or not. Ben, I like your work. It's fantastic. Your content is great. Superhero movies is right up my alley. So I like to connect with the brother and be on the show. Man, that's a serious plug. Because what I saw was just fantastic. And everybody enjoys themselves. Everybody's different. Everybody brings, of course, their point of view. And I became a fan instantly. So shout out to Ben for doing that.
Well, Ben, if you are listening or you're viewing, this man on your show, gold, absolute gold. And yes, I would love to see you simply eviscerate a movie on the Forecast too.
It would be more than my honor. He has great content. And
yeah, he does.
So what was on my mind at the beginning of the week? So I'm looking at ESPN and who's on there? Patrick Beverley from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now,
yes, he's been in there a lot.
You're right. He's been there all week. So when I saw him that Monday, I'm like, okay, he ain't got nothing else better to do with his life.
Right.
So he's on the program, and I saw him on First Take. I'm sorry, on Get Up First. I saw him on Get Up First, and then he's been on First Take. He's been on ESPN Radios, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. So he got him all over the place. Working like a Hebrew slave with no sandals. So he's doing his thing. So when I saw him on First Take with Stephen A.
Okay.
Yes. I loved it because it put Stephen on his heels. And he looked a little bit rattled a little bit. Because, see, here's the thing. I can't stand Stephen A. Smith. Everybody knows that.
Right.
And once again, if I'm a superhero and I'm Superman and he's, Lex Luthor and he has Negro Night, it's going to be lights out. So having said that, it's nice to see Screaming A, get a little rattled and get a little nervous because Patrick Beverly was giving him the business. Now, I'm not a big Patrick Beverly fan, mind you.
Same. I'm not really either.
But just the fact that he was making Screaming a wee bit nervous was worth the trip in. I loved it.
Okay. All right. So now you're a Pat Bev fan if he does decide to hang it up and become an analyst at ESPN. Would you want for him to sit opposite Negro Night?
Yes. Yes, I would love it. I would must see TV for me at that time because again, like Eric, look, I'm not trying to be, keep repeating myself, but I just have to in this situation because the man happened to be on the network. And once again, I remember I put on my Facebook page a while back when Screaming A was absent. I said it was great to watch First Take without Screaming A Smith. I got some responses on my Facebook page, and one of my boys has said, well, why do you watch him? Here's the clarification. I watch First Take for Molly. I watch First Take for the other people that come on during the week with their analysts. He just happens to be there.
I feel you.
That's how I look at it.
I feel you on that.
That's how I look, because when he's absent, it is nirvana.
I get why you say that. Unfortunately, I wish the energy would be the same. Not necessarily his type of energy, but the energy would be the same when he's not away, because you do get better content in terms of content. But seemingly it's the reason why the dude actually earns 8 figures a year is because people tune in to see him, whether they like him or they don't.
Yeah, he's a hype man.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yes. He's ESPN's Flavor Flav. There you go.
He's Flavor Flav. He's Bundini Brown.
Or Bundini Brown.
Yeah, he's the hype man. So he's a high-paid hype man I ever seen in my life. Once again, I don't deny him the bag. He is who he is. But once again, before, I just don't like his act. Now, having said that, I was checking out the return of Marcus Smart for the Celtics.
Yeah, last night.
And it was a beautiful game. I saw some of it, but it's a 9-day difference. How one person can make a difference.
Isn't it?
And it's amazing to me. So Marcus Smart, as you know, you probably reported already, 24 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. Again, see, people don't understand, and I'm sure that they do. When you are a person who facilitates, or dare I say, an enforcer of a team, because every team needs one. You need someone who's going to be the person who, bumps and grind underneath the board, who's going to get things done, the garbage man, and pick up the trash and keep it moving. Because everybody else, that allows someone like, Jason Tatum to facilitate and score like anything else. So I at least, for example, they're letting them play, meaning the refs.
Right.
Because they've been bumping, grinding a lot, and they go in there and they do their business and everything else, which is great because that's what the playoffs all about. And I hope that it goes into the regular season. Because, I'm an old school head. I get it. But it was something to be said about the physicality of basketball.
100.
And not to just, touch somebody's elbow and all of a sudden call a foul or a flagrant, or you blow somebody's bad breath on somebody's nose.
And that's a foul.
And that's a foul too. don't get me wrong. It's stank breath to be damned. I get that's foul, but still
a basketball foul. No,
not right. Exactly. So it's become so watered down at times, and I miss that because once again, like back in the day, watching say the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at the Chicago Stadium before they built United Center, the Madhouse on Madison they called it because that's when, of course, you had the old stadium. And you had that because the Bulls and the Hawks played there.
Right.
And so I'm watching a game between the Bulls and the Pistons. So, of course, you up front in front of a game, sports-wise, you see everything that the camera doesn't catch.
Right.
So I'm watching guys pull jerseys around picks.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, Bill Laimbeer was stepping on Bill Cartwright's feet so he wouldn't get a rebound.
Mm-hmm.
And elbows to the ribs. Stuff like that, the tough and the rough and grind. And again, it's the physicality.
Mm-hmm.
If you make it too soft, which they have done.
Oh, gosh, yes, they have.
It's a watered down league, and you don't need that. So I was surprised watching the Celtics and Heat when Jimmy Butler scored 41, that they let them be physical. I was shocked. So hopefully, Cole, that as far as I'm concerned, let them do it throughout the whole series on both coasts, and hopefully maybe that could be a precursor for next season.
It's funny you say that because people were saying that the Warriors played the Mavericks physical too in Game 1 Wednesday. So, look, your lips to God's ears. Hopefully, yes, I agree with you, man. I would love for the physicality of basketball to return, because it is sorely lacking and it's sorely missing. It's making the product much, much worse. It just is.
I agree wholeheartedly. And again, like back in the day, you had people like, even going back to Coach Phil Jackson before he was a coach. He played for the New York Knicks. He was an enforcer.
Right. That was his main role. Right.
Right. Which I believe that was the reason why he connected so well with Dennis Rodman.
Of course.
Because Dennis Rodman was an enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
So you had that commonality to share.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying that if you bring some of that back, I think the game would be much better for it.
Yeah. Yeah, we can still have the shooters, and we still have the penetrators. Pause. And we can still have we can still have the shooters.
Yes.
But yeah, post play just needs to return. Let me tend to the chat here. Sam, answer this question is yes. Do you think Moore is the eventual replacement for McCarthy? Yes, because he too is a puppet for Gerald, just like McCarthy is. Cool's feeling you says, feel the bass.
Hey, what's up, Cool? How you doing? Good morning.
6 says, I better tune up my bass guitar because Cool Daddy Chris Bass is about to bring the funk. He's about to bring more of the funk.
Yeah, make my funk a P-funk. I want to get funked up.
Now you had to, why'd you have to give me that earworm? Okay.
Yes, of course.
I love it, but why'd you have to give me that earworm particularly?
Hey, man, it's early.
Now I'm hearing it.
Yeah. you gotta keep it going.
Oh my gosh. Great song. Sick also says, don't mind my boss braids, folks. It's Friday and I just got paid. So I'm taking it back to 87 like the late Johnny Kemp.
Johnny Kemp, God bless his soul, man. One hit wonder. And that became the anthem for like every other Friday or whenever he got paid.
Yep.
And people going down the street just got paid. Okay, thank you. I know.
Yep. All throughout high school, I heard that.
Yep.
All throughout high school. I mean, all throughout it.
Yeah, feels good. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Sick also says, if they're going to cut you, you better blast their pinky toe off.
Oh, now you're going to shoot me in my pinky toe. Yeah. No, when I watched the forecast, man, like I said before, I became a fan instantly. And it was just nice to see. And I don't mean this racially. I love to see our people do good stuff.
Of course.
And because we need to support, like you said before, supporting each other is the key thing that we all need to do to succeed. So we can't do it by ourselves. I've been proposing that for years. So, once I'm here supporting this show, or you guys support me and vice versa, that's how it works. It's very simple. But you see, you have to be in the right mind, Cole, to do things like that. Because you have some people who are selfish, who do not want to share, who do not want to help our people rise up. And that's fine. They belong in the gutter where they're supposed to be. And everybody else had to get on point and realizes that you can't do it by your damn self.
No.
Always need help. Always.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to learn that lesson too. Now I'm not talking about in this particular
Sure.
spear. I'm just talking about life in general. It took me a while, but yeah, you're right.
Yes, absolutely.
You're right. Cool. When we mentioned Negro Night, he had the peepers on.
Thank you, cool. That's right. Negro Night. Negro with NITE.
BS3 Network says feel the bass. So
what's up, BS3, man? Thank you, bro. I love what you're doing, man. Brother, I love it.
So hopefully you heard that. I would love to see Chris Bass on the forecast too, because man, this guy's full of fire.
Yes.
He said, yeah, saw a clip and loved it too. And when we talked about Screaming A. Smith, he says, no, he the court jester.
No, cool, you're right. And the thing about it is that, look, and that's an insult to court jesters. To be completely transparent with you, cool. I mean, that's the court jesters are trying to live their life. They're getting paid. They're getting direct deposit, and just the fact that you're going to insult court jesters, man, that's just wrong. That's not right. You can't put a Screaming A. Smith and compare him to a court jester. I mean, I think if I was a court jester, I'd be highly offended.
Oh my gosh!
But I get what he's saying. No, it's the only thing missing with him, because he has a receding hairline, and only thing he's missing is the makeup and put the red nose and he's bozo.
Oh Lord! Why did you have me flashback to when I think I was about 9 or 10? One time I went to school. One time I was getting ready to go to school, and I turned it on WGN, and I saw Bozo the Clown.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I grew up with Bozo. Like, I'm from Chicago, grew up with Bozo all my life, man. Bozo Circus and Bozo Show and everything else, and shoot, I loved it. So if you want to really talk about Screaming A. Smith as a joke, yeah, put him in the clown costume and see what you get. I think it'll be a better fit.
Yeah. He'll try the fancy stuff as Homie the Clown, but it just wouldn't work. 6 says stank breath so foul Gatorade needs to develop a thirst quencher for that freshens the players' mouths. I would love to see that happen, man, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, man. Look, y'all gonna understand about hygiene in the mouth. You got to scrape your tongue.
Yes.
Scrape your tongue, get all that crap out, and you'd be surprised. Of course, use mouthwash. You use mouthwash by yourself. Scrape your tongue. That's where all the crap is. That, of course, in your teeth, and you'll be just fine.
Yep. Cool says he agrees with both of us. He says physicality is needed in basketball for sure.
Absolutely.
He says facts are all of what we're saying and what you're saying, basically, man. And 6 says cool. Screaming A. Smith is more like the village idiot.
I give him that too.
But
I give him that too. Take the village off, and I'm cool with it.
Okay, so I'm writing this down. So calling Stephen A. Smith the court jester is an insult to court jesters.
Yes, it is.
And if you call him the village idiot, take the village off. He's just a straight idiot.
There you go. That's how you do it.
You show no mercy to this man. That's so funny.
No, and don't get me wrong. I told you I missed the boat when years ago they had that challenge Screaming A. Smith for a debate. I missed the boat. I should have got on that, and I would have loved to tear him apart. I would relish every moment of it.
Oh Lord, 6 says Candida on the tongue, Rick Savitt. I agree with that. Cool's loving it.
Yeah.
All right. So, I know what I can talk about with you.
All right.
So we had the NFL schedule released. That was last Thursday. Do you give your hometown Bears a chance to do anything positive in the 2022 season?
It's the classic wait and see approach. I'm not skirting the issue, but as a suffering Bears fan for years,
oh no,
you just have to be realistic about the whole thing. So I'm glad I got the new GM in place and the new coach and everything else. But it's a wait and see a situation. With Justin Fields, we can build the future. But again, from the mindset from the top all the way down, I have to see it to believe it. And usually what happens, like other teams, Justin Fields will probably say, you know what, peace, 2 fingers, I'm out of here. He'll probably go somewhere and flourish. I hope that won't happen. If we can keep him here and build and let him flourish and build upon his talent, then we have something. But if they do him wrong, that they done with other players over the years, you can get a new janitor. Still won't make a difference because the hierarchy of the whole thing needs to change their mindsets. So, for example, back in the draft, they could have gotten Patrick Mahomes, and they passed on him.
That's remarkable.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call racist, but it's the McCaskies, and they come from that good old white money.
Yeah, they do.
And that mindset. So I don't know who pulled their tail to get Justin because he ain't white. He's not even light skinned. So at least from the standpoint, and it's not a matter of race, but it's the fact of race does matters. Going back to Dr. Cornel West before he lost his damn mind. Years ago, he wrote about Race Matters, a fantastic book. You know good and damn well Cody lost his damn mind.
Wait. All right, so did he lose his mind when he teamed up with the sexual abuser Tavis Smiley?
There you go. That give that man a cheroot.
When they were doing that, what they call it, a book tour, all 8 years of Barack Obama's presidency.
Christ, man, they had that poverty bus. They had a big ass poverty bus, and they were going to all these inner cities to talk about the fact that Barack Obama wasn't doing anything for black people. So if you're on a poverty bus, who paid for that luxury bus for you?
That does seem kind of.
I think we're talking about poverty, and you got like 5 bathrooms in this bus. That's when Dr. Cornel West unfortunately lost his mind.
But this supposedly is one of the most forward thinkers in American society.
He was Michael Jackson and moonwalked his ass from everything he talked about. He sure did. I'm talking about the penny loafers that are black and the white socks that had glitter on it.
Oh my God.
I'm talking about full moonwalk.
Oh my
hat
God.
And everything.
The hat included.
Right, the whole thing. There you go. You know what time it is.
Oh my gosh.
Don't get me wrong. Let me get on a tangent.
Please.
As a broadcaster coming up, you at the time being a talk show host, you don't see anybody like in my color at the time. Very scarce. And it's still kind of scarce, but more so now than before. So I was coming up in the 90s during this time to work in talk radio. So Tavis Smiley became a hero of mine because he was around the same age as me. He wrote books. He was getting on platforms like Radio Fact. He was the Time During the Morning Show correspondent for a long time, for 10 years. And I liked what he was doing. He wrote books about being a student of Dr. King, and things of that nature. So he seemed pretty level-headed. Great interviewer. I don't think his interviewing skills are fantastic.
Yes, they are.
I give him that. Then the whole thing, because he used to do this thing called State of the Black Union that he would have every year at different cities.
Right.
Different panels like, Reverend Jesse Jackson and Michael Eric Dyson and Minister Louis Farrakhan and other dignitaries in the black world that would come and speak in 2 sessions, the morning session and the mid-morning session, that they had 2 panels.
Right.
So in 2008, when Barack Obama was running for the presidency, he was asking Barack to come by. Now, Barack has a set schedule to barnstorm during this time. So he said, I can't go, but I sent my wife, Michelle. In fact, my wife, Michelle, helps me write my speeches. And she would be a great person to represent. So being in the industry, you hear different things here and there, hearsay. But I'm telling you what I believe. I believe because of that one incident, incident, Tavis got salty and then went against Barack Obama. Here's the man who wrote about being a disciple of Dr. King, a black man running for the presidency, and you do it in about face in 180. It's sad.
And it seemed immediate. I mean, all right. So I think I saw one of those summits, and I think it was actually the 2008 one. I should believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was one where basically where Farrakhan just took it, and it was basically his platform. It basically was it almost seemed as if you were watching another one of his mob speeches. But the tenor of Tavis when he was speaking then was basically, all right, I think it's cool that we as Americans have gotten and America has gotten to this point. And of course, what can we do to further the advances since we now have this guy who is black and is running for the presidency? He seems a little bit more positive in that regard. And almost as soon as he got elected, the tune changed. And if that is what did it, wow, I have a whole different level of respect for Tavis. And I don't mean positive either.
When Tav was on the Tom doing the morning show, and he mentioned about his dislike for then Barack Obama in the run for the presidency, he was getting death threats from people.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to be excommunicated from his role as commentator on the Tom Jordan Morning Show.
On the Morning Show, yeah.
So then he was replaced by Roland Martin during that time. So again, you talk all this yin-yang about brotherhood and sisterhood, and then when it actually happens, you back off. And then when he became president-elect, going back to Barack Obama, all of a sudden you see Tavis Smiley appearing on NBC's Meet the Press and things of that nature, talking all this yin-yang against Barack Obama. I was like, dude, I got nothing for you.
Mm.
It really was a letdown because I really like Tavis. I really did. I like Tavis. I like Dr. Cornel West, but that was it. Don't get me wrong. I kicked him out of the black community, but if I had to bring back one, I would bring back the doctor. I would bring back.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please bring back Dr. West.
I would bring him back. Tavis, hell nope.
I was like, no, not Dr. West.
Yeah.
I like that brother, although I did think I think the last decade was not all that kind to him.
No, not at all.
And I mean, in the mental department, I don't think it was all that kind to him.
I know.
Six says, Base, you're right. Using the word village is an insult to the village people in reference to calling Stephen A. Smith the village idiot.
Macho man.
Lord, you and these doggone earworms. All right. He also says, I'm glad I learned most of those important life lessons from the late Dick Gregory. Wow.
Dick, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say he is one and I say is, I know he's passed, but he is one of those brilliant figures where he does not get his just due. And here's where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a comedian when he came up, and we learned of him as a comedian, but he decided to take the platform of comedy and use social commentary along with it. He doesn't get the just due of doing that, but you know who does? And I love him. In fact, this show loves him. George Carlin. So I know that Carlin had to see what Dick Gregory did, and I won't say stole, but borrowed that concept and did it his own style. And Carlin was great. Loved him. I love him too. But yeah, Dick Gregory does not get his just due in terms of how brilliant of a comedic mind he is, and how vast of a mind he had in terms of trying to talk about togetherness in particular.
Yes. I totally agree. He should be in the name of the pantheons of the greats who allow us to do what we're doing right now for civil rights and for human rights. Dick Gregory is connected to three of the most prolific civil rights leaders of all time. He worked with Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Dr. King.
I totally forgot he worked with Medgar Evers. Yes,
he did. He knew all three of those men, and all three of those men were assassinated
in the same decade. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Sick also says some of the most some of those important life lessons were at a particular state of the Black Union where Mr. Gregory went on a tangent and was humorous and to the point. That was him.
Look, I gotta tell this joke that Dick Gregory said at one of the State of the Unions. So again, this is when Barack Obama running for the presidency, and he was on the panel, and he says the following. He says, "So, an older black man in his 80s prays to God, and he prays to God. He says, God, I'm getting in my 80s, and hopefully by you approach my 90s. Will I stay alive to see a black president of the United States of America?" And God says, "Shit, not while I'm gone."
Oh, Lord.
But again, it's the mastery of Dick Gregory to put all that together.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. That dude was brilliant.
Yes.
Dude was absolutely brilliant.
He was interviewed one time real quick back in the day.
Go ahead.
He said, the interviewer said, so what kind of car you drive? Lincoln, obviously.
As in Abraham Lincoln. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
Brilliant. Just brilliant.
Yeah, I miss him. I do. I miss Dick Gregory.
Absolutely.
Well, since we're on this bent, what comedians make you what comedians actually make your humor and your brand of humor pop off and shine? You said, the style of this guy or the style of this woman, I would like to incorporate a little bit of that in my own personal self.
Bernie Mac comes to mind immediately.
Oh, yeah. Another
Bernie Mac,
Chicago's own. Yeah.
I met Bernie Mac once when I was a producer, and the host going to interview him. I met him for an hour. We sat in the green room. This was after when he was on Def Comedy Jam. Right after that. I ain't scared of you, motherfucker. It was that.
Oh, God.
And I talked about the whole thing about how they come up with that. And he told me the story. He told me that when they were filming, there were 3 comedians in front of him that were just booed off the stage.
Right.
They could not finish their acts. And so the guy was a Benny Hart out there. He was like, man, I'm scared of them. Well, I'm from Chicago, man. That won't bother me. So once again, the brilliance of his comedy mind. So he goes to, what's my man's name? Kid Capri.
Yeah.
If I give you the sign, play some music, and I'll tell you to cut it off. So when he goes out there and does this now famous bit, and I got a chance to also interview his daughter, Janice, about this as well.
Right.
He completely disarmed the audience. Completely disarmed, because they were rowdy as hell.
Right.
When he said, I ain't scared of you, mother Hubbards, and just completely disarmed them, once he said that, he was able to do his act. He let them know. And it was just sheer brilliance. This man, God rest his soul, was a student of comedy. He's telling me about watching Andy Griffith as a kid and what made Andy funny and what made Don Knotts funny. He would study these people. Red Fox and others. I mean, he really had a very comedic mind as a student. So by the time he was able to perform it, he did it. As a matter of fact, another side thing he told me was, see, back in the day, you didn't have too many comedy clubs here in Chicago. We only had one, that was the Cotton Club. That didn't come until later on. So you have to go to the north side, really, to get some work. So you only get like one black comedian if you made the cut. And usually he'll be in line with Robin Harris.
My favorite comedian of all time. Yeah.
So you would the person who would select from the nightclub either be Bernie or it'll be Robin Harris.
Robin Harris.
Then he told me a story real quick about how Bernie Mac was supposed to do the voice of Robin Harris for the Baby's Kids animated movie.
Right.
He was really selected for that. He told me that the Hudlin brothers pretty much gave him the runaround at the time. So he wanted to do it because I closed my eyes because he knew his actor, knew Robin, he sounded just like him.
Right.
Just like him. So he was called by the Hudlin brothers to do it. They would fly him out there. But they were saying, look, our budget is low. We really can't do too much to bring you out here. He was like, okay, well, meet me halfway. If I'll do the airlines, the travel, and you do, me staying at a hotel or vice versa. That way I'll be able to do it. They were like, no, we can't do this. They pretty much gave them the runaround. Them going to Phase on Love. But originally it was supposed to be Bernie Mac to do the voice of Robin Harris for the animated cartoon.
The brilliance of Bernie Mac, man. Yeah, I remember that. You don't understand.
Yeah,
I ain't scared of you. Yeah, oh man,
brilliant.
It.
Just and that's the key word that we're using this morning, because that's what these people were. They were able, like, no offense to the other comedians when they did the Kings of Comedy, Steve Harvey and the rest of them and everything else, but Bernie.
Oh, he stole it.
And they even said you can't come behind.
You can't
Bernie.
come after him.
He closed the stage, man.
You can't come after him, right?
Yeah.
And they were wise to do that, because there was no way you could come after that locomotive of comedy genius. I mean, oh my gosh.
Who were some of your favorite comedians?
Well, you mentioned two of them off the bat. Bernie Mac, because that he is one of two that just made me laugh until I couldn't laugh anymore. Mm-hmm. The other is Robin Harris. I remember listening to it was a tape of one of his comedy stand-up acts, and I mean it went about an hour long.
Yeah.
And it came at the right time. I just got broken up with a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so I popped this tape in, listened to it, and there was so many parts where I was just laughing silly. And I would laugh until I was crying. And I would cry, and I would stop crying, but I would feel my stomach aching. Oh, and you want to talk about the brilliance of Bernie Mac's mind? He actually talked about Robin Harris in this instance. He said, "Man, there hasn't been a comedian." He says, "Here's how the comedians are. Comedians, they'll tell a joke, and then they'll set you up, and they'll hit you with a punchline, and then you get the uproarious laughter, right?" So normally the bit is crowds low, and all of a sudden you hear he said, but Robin, no. Robin is like he says he just kept hitting you, laugh after laugh after laugh. He didn't give you time to breathe.
No.
And he says, man, and he says, I haven't seen a comedian better than him. That came out of Bernie's mouth.
Well, it broke my heart because, here in Chicago, we had a theater called the Regal Theater here on the South Side. And a lot of performers came by. In fact, I went to see Heavy D one year, killed it. Mm-hmm. So Bernie Mac was performing at the Regal Theater. And I got phone calls from my friends who went there and said, man, there was no more stage when he got finished. It was just blown to bits. We haven't had a laugh like that in a long time. And unfortunately, he went home and passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that broke my heart, man, because I was talking to a friend of mine about this just yesterday. What if the movie Soul Man was Bernie Mac and Robin Harris?
Oh, my gosh. And look, shout out to Samuel L. Jackson. Dude is a funny actor, but Bernie Mac and Robin Harris, there'd be no more stand up.
That's lights out. You can't do no more after that.
There'd be no more stand up. There'd be no more comedy flicks. No way. Oh my gosh, that would be the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
I totally agree.
Oh my gosh. Six says this. Cole and Bass, I wonder if either of you've seen the documentary titled "I'm Not Your Negro." It's written in the words of James Baldwin and narrated by Samuel L. Jackson.
I am not sat down to watch it. I need to.
I need to, too. I was going to say the same thing. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But I also need to do the same thing you just said, Bass. I need to sit down and see it.
I remember I put on my Netflix list of things to watch. I got to check it out. I've heard great things about that documentary.
Same. BS3 Network says Dick Gregory's a legend, so I guess he heard your plea of being on the forecast.
Absolutely.
He also says check out the one and only Dick Gregory on Showtime. I'll do that
I've seen that.
Okay. I need to see that then.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Cool says, I forgot my man who did Baby Kids 2, of course, talking about Face on Love. And he also said that he missed Bernie Mac. I do too.
Yes.
Cool also says I like old school Delirious, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Rich Pryor. Now of the current comedians, Dave Chappelle does it for me, no question.
Dave Chappelle, I think, has the mantle from Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, type of ilk.
Yeah,
because Richard Pryor is, of course, the GOAT. You can't touch him.
Yeah, in terms of just straight rock star stand up.
Yeah,
Richard Pryor, and there's nobody else.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Now, really, the rock star stand, I think, started with Eddie.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I mean, I think Richard on the cusp of that rock star status, but Eddie Murphy with the leather on from head to toe and everything else, looking like a black Elvis. I mean, come on now. I mean, it's
true. Yeah,
he embodied the rock and roll part of it all, the whole image of, because he did music. He liked to do music. I remember one of his early albums when he was younger, "Boogie in Your Butt." That song, it was hilarious, but again, it goes back to the artistry of doing comedy and combining with music, because artists, of course, comedians continue to do music albums, probably music and, of course, their stand-up albums as well. So I think that he did the rock and roll thing, because even Martin Lawrence said that I never saw anybody wear leather like that when he saw Eddie Murphy. And then you phase into Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, with the cigarette and the way he uses it, reminds me of Dick Gregory.
It does.
As a prop.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always nuances that we take from other people because they paved the way for us.
Yeah.
So going back to Eddie Murphy, who was his idol? Richard Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. The look. Yes, Eddie looked the rock star part as a comedian, no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I meant was, I can put it this way, and I think you're a broad mind, you could appreciate it. No, you have your Miley Cruz, you have your Bon Jovis, you have those acts, but you also have the one that basically set the stage for him in Led Zeppelin.
I see that.
And that's how I look at Eddie Murphy, and before him, the Richard Pryor. Eddie Murphy was, basically like the hair bands, and Richard Pryor was the Led Zeppelin.
I go along with that.
Yeah. But I do agree with you. The look of the rock star, Eddie Murphy all day. Yes, yeah. I totally agree with you.
And you got to put in Red Fox.
Oh, Red Fox? Man. People sell him short thinking that he's just Fred G. Sanford.
Oh, man.
That stand-up act he did.
Look, the great thing about Red Fox when he started to do Sanford and Son was the fact that, of course, it was a British import because it was really Steptoe and Son,
right?
Over the pond, as they say, and they made it to his version of it. So he created all of that. First of all, his real name is Sanford,
right?
First and foremost,
that's right.
Fred Sanford was the name of his father and brother, senior and junior. His name is John Sanford. And so when he created the character of Fred Sanford, the voice, the combat boots, the walk, the bow leg walk and everything, he created all that. We take it for granted, if you think about it.
Yeah, we do.
Because it's been so popular in our culture that we just embrace like an old friend. But he created all that. And good for him for fighting for LaWanda Page to be Esther on the show, because he had to fight for that one.
Yes. Because that show is not the same. Same as LaWanda Page. It just isn't the same.
Exactly.
6 says Bernie Mac was unapologetically black. His first time on Def Comedy Jam, which we have referenced, has acknowledged that he was dark. He made the crowd imagine if he was in all black with blue contact lenses. Yeah. He said the crowd would have been messed up.
Quite.
Yeah, he actually said, if I turn off the light, the whole room gets dark.
That's right. In that same stand-up routine, when he's talking about getting some, and the girl he's with, and the phone is ringing. Ooh, let me get the phone. It could be a job. He said, so she was riding me, right? And she gets the phone, and she's like on the phone. Hello? Hello? What am I doing? Ooh, nothing.
Oh Lord, yeah. It says
You can't beat that, man. That is original material that we now look at it and say, man, I just wish there was more. I thank God he came our way.
It's like, yeah, man. If she has the nerve to answer the phone, you get your business in. Give her the
right, right.
Duh. I love
Right.
that. Oh gosh, that was hilarious.
You couldn't steal from Bernie.
No, you can't, and you couldn't. I was like, there's no way anyone could copy that. Nobody could.
That's true.
6 says, from that joke, I learned on the flip side, I've yet to see a white person who could put fingerprints on chalk. Oh Lord, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Cool says, bro, if you put Robin Harris and Bernie Mac in the same movie, epic.
Yeah.
And I was thinking Robin Harris. He also says, talk about the bus boys.
Bus boys.
Oh my. If I'm not mistaken, was that the group?
The boys are back in town that Eddie Murphy was trying to front at one point.
That's what I'm saying. It's talking about the
boys are back in town. That was in 48 hours.
Yeah, in the 48 hours. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, one and done.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear another hit after that.
I think they tried to do something on another 48 hours, but it just goes to show you didn't really hear
10
much.
12 years later apart. I mean, Eddie Murphy got fat eating steak.
Oh my gosh. BS3 Network says, yep, Dave Chappelle, Dick Ricker are similar with the cigarette.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cigarette and social commentary, because the way they weave comedy and social commentary together is ingenious. How both of them do it.
Amazing.
Oh, and sick. Red Fox was vicious on stage. Man. This is how vicious he was on stage. One time I asked, I think I was like 6, 7. If I could listen to one of the Red Fox albums, my father said, F no. You ain't listening to that. That's how vicious he was. He would even let me listen to a little bit of Richard Pryor, a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Red Fox, I couldn't touch.
Yeah.
That's how vicious Red Fox was on stage.
I'm telling you, yeah, it's amazing that happens with these comedians and they get caught up in the money. Because Richard Pryor, like most of us coming up, was my idol.
Yeah,
like most people, because he was the man.
Yeah.
So like Superman 3 crushed my heart completely.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, the way he was used, and then I became what I call the screaming Negro at one point. He was all screaming around, and the role really, it seemed kind of weak. But what really broke my heart was the movie The Toy.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't take no more. Because first of all, as a kid, I loved Jackie Gleason.
I did too.
And I loved Richard Pryor.
Same.
So I'm like, the best of these comedy worlds come together. And it was a dud. It sucked and swallowed. I did not care for it. You have the boy who got his ass kicked from day one in the storyline. You should have offed him already.
Not offed him.
You should have offed him like in 10 minutes into the movie.
Not off the boy. That's
off the boy. Right. That's right. Lights out. You gotta go.
To kill the boy.
Kill the boy.
The movie. That's cold.
Kill the boy.
Oh man.
Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. Take him out. Put him in a headlock. Figure for a leg lock. Whatever you gotta do. Call off the air supply. Kill the boy. I'm saying, and I didn't like that, and I didn't like the fact that Richard Pryor was in a dress, serving the white folk and everything else in his maid dress. I was on the move to tears, and I was a younger guy during that time. Because I knew, I felt something was wrong with this.
Of course.
At the time.
Of course.
So, but you fast forward to other stuff, and once again, reading some of Richard Pryor's background, I understand, well, first of all, money, and he was on cocaine. So
yeah,
you do things he had to do the sniff. So people do things that everybody sometimes do a little bit of strange for a piece of change.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It's funny. I was watching the latest episode of Young Rock where Dwayne talks about his father one time accepting a really good, lucrative money deal with a wrestling promoter. And everything seemed fine. I mean, it was in It was in a big arena. This it was all sold out. They had a place that was marked for him, his father. I mean, a parking space for him. So he walked in. He got hit with $100 as soon as he saw the promoter. Everything seemed to be fine. Got to his own private dressing room. There was a camera ready and set. Everything seemed to go great. And the promoter said, "I'll be right back." One of his seconds comes back with a plate of chicken and watermelon and said, I want you to cut a promo. And of course, Riker says, "Nah, not happening. I'm gone. Peace." Right. And oh yeah, and this 100 that you slapped me with, yeah, this is racist tax. I'm gone. When you mention Richard Pryor in those types of roles, yeah, it hurt my heart severely.
Yeah,
because I really felt as though this guy, if there ever was a king of comedy, he's it. And people were taking severe advantage of him. And he probably made those bad decisions on his own too. But
true.
But man, a lot of people were taking severe advantage of him. I'm like, why would he, this king of the comedy world, reduce himself to playing roles that are just not worth his time? Like, the money couldn't be that good.
Well, for him
just
at the
couldn't
time.
be.
No, for him at the time. And plus, when you ride the white horse, you don't want to get off of it. You don't want to get off of it. And look, I'll give you a perfect example. Now, when I was coming up in college.
You're right about that, bro.
Man, look, when I was in college, my vice was drinking. I don't smoke. I didn't smoke a cigar until I was 25. But I don't smoke weed, but I like to drink. So that was my vice. So you hang around like-minded people like to do the exact same thing you do. So when I was in college, we get off the radio station. I worked for WCRX, the college radio station, got off at midnight with my friends, and then we go drink. So, sometimes you be with your friends, and some friends are like, "Hey, man, there's a partner of mine. Can you hang out with us?" "All right, yeah, cool. Bring him on. He's cool people." So we went to the nightclub, and I was at the bar with the guy that was new, the new guy. And I said, "Hey, man, I'll tell you what, we're going to do some tequila shots." He said, "Cool, man." So, all right then. So get tequila shots, tequila, salt, lime, right? That's the setup. So I had my back to the brother. He was, I said, "What's up, man? What's up?" I sniffed the salt.
Oh, man.
I said, "Why the fuck you sitting to sniff the salt for?" "I'm trying to stop doing cocaine, man. I was out of habit." Because he's used to putting that white stuff on his knuckle
and sniffing it, yeah.
Right. Now, I told you, I ain't gonna sit here in front. I laughed my ass off. I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry I missed it, because he was telling me about it. Man, I wish he would have saw that, man. I would have loved to have seen this dude get the tequila set up, put the salt on his thumb, and I would have loved to. I'm sorry, I missed that.
He said, "I'm sorry I missed it."
I'm sorry I missed it. Sorry I missed it. I'm sorry I missed it. So this is another setup, right? So I get another setup. I said, right. Now, mind you, get the salt. Don't sniff it.
Oh, my gosh.
But see, he was trying to stop doing cocaine. He told me quit cold turkey. He was on 4 months sobriety, which I congratulate him for.
Yeah.
At the time. But out of habit, he took the salt. I swear to God, he told me, I put the salt on my knuckle. Out of habit.
Oh, man. And he sniffed salt.
I said, "Dude, I missed it. I'm sorry. I could use some pepper too. Sniff that." Put the salt in one nostril and the pepper in the other.
He sniffed salt. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Sure did.
Oh, Lord. Oh, good Lord. See, this is why we have this man on. And I could continue this because I'm enlightened every time I talk with you, and I love my time that I spend with you. So where, good sir, can the people find you?
Thank you, Cole Johnson. Go to Facebook.com and type in Chris Bass, CHRIS, B as in broadcasting, ASE. You will be indicted. Not indicted. I don't want about your federal life, but you will be, inundated with all the different people claim to be Chris Bass. There are phony, fakes, and frauds. I am the original. You see me with a fedora hat on, looking quite dapper and debonair. We'll become friends. You get a chance to check out all my social media shows and platforms. And I have Baseline come on today, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. on the West Coast. Please, my people, go tell 5 of your friends and 8 of your enemies, because you have some, and don't snort salt. Tell everyone that Chris Bass is in the air.
Always love that. 5 of your friends, 8 of your enemies, that Chris Bass is in the air. Man. Well, he's always in the air every Friday from 9:35 a.m. Eastern on to the close of the show. It is wonderful to always have you, man. Chris Bass, brother, thank you. Thank you for gracing this time with me. You've made my week.
Thank you. Same here, bro. You take care.
You too, my man.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Now, where can you find me? Well, you can find me on Cole Sports with a Z on YouTube. That's Cole Sports with a Z on YouTube. YouTube.com/C/Cole Sports with a Z. You get content similar to this. You get content that's a little different. That's how we roll. But we're rolling out of here, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. All of you in the chat, all of you in BS3 Network, all of you in YouTube and Facebook, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for just being you. And my charge to you is as follows. Take care. God bless. Make your next week your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they simply are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. That's what we're all doing here at the Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson show. We hope you're doing the same too. Till we meet again on Monday. More from the conference finals round in the NBA, maybe a little bit of NFL, a little bit of MLB, and on Monday, Wise El Jefe joins us. Until then, see ya. Thank you for tuning in to Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, the hottest of hot takes and the coldest of cold, hard facts.